You're listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson, the podcast that tells you what it really takes to build a business and the simple steps to get you there. I'm determined to share with you the reality of easy, simple business marketing tips to make passive income so that you can start making money online. I'm excited to tell you all about the Business Box run by my good friend Lauren. It's a subscription box for entrepreneurs packed full of goodies to help you be more productive, more organized, make more money, and look after yourself. Each month you get a business book, stationery, office supplies, and something that's to do with self-care. And best of all, it's all tax deductible. Plus, if you use the code LJPOD at checkout, you'll get an extra gift in your first box. So go check out the link in the show notes or go straight to thebusinessbox.co.uk now. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the customer experience. It's often the bit that gets massively overlooked. People talk about leads, people talk about selling, but they don't talk about what it's like for the customer on the other end and their experience of it. And I think it's really important. So we're going to delve deeper into that. And to do this, I have somebody, as always, that is an expert in this topic, and that is Chris Dillon. Chris helps business owners convert more leads by focusing on their customer journeys in different ways, and we'll go into that. But first of all, welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you very much for the invite. Always appreciated.
No worries. First of all, I want to talk about how, less than 4 years ago, might be 5 years ago, you were actually a DJ, and now you have a business. That's a random fact that you were a DJ in Malaga. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I've been a DJ on the side of things since about 2009. I've DJ'd on cruise ships and I kind of wanted to make a full-time career out of that. So I flew out to Mallorca. I was a DJ there for 6 years. Alongside all of the DJing, I was always running the advertising for those events. Right. So I would handle the social media pages. I'd handle all of that because it kind of made sense, the person being in the middle of it, being responsible for that. And I started getting quite good at that. And something gives you a kick up the arse when you start earning commission on tickets. To get really good at selling tickets online. So yeah, I sort of started doing that. And then, I'm 34 now. And there's a point where you become too old to be a DJ.
Too old to do? Is it because everything starts at midnight? I don't know how people do it. When I'm in Dubai, I get in at about 10 o'clock, 10:30, just as everyone's getting ready to go out. Like, how has this happened? How have I got this old?
I used to, I look back at this now with 2 kids and just go, how on earth did I do this? But I used to DJ 7 nights a week, 8 till 4 a.m. So 8 p.m. till 4 a.m., 7 nights a week it was about 220 to 230 days straight. You did not have a day off. And I would do between 1 and 2 boat parties a day, and occasionally do a pool party and occasionally do an after party.
An after party after 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, there were some places that would stay open until 6. So you would do like a workers' party after that for between 4 and 6. And there were some places that only opened at 6, which I only stepped foot in about 4 or 5 times. But yeah, there comes a point where you're like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this forever. So
not with kids as well.
Oh yeah, no, this was well before the kids. The kids came. It was brilliant, and I loved it, and I enjoyed it, and I left on a high, which I really like. I left with people saying "Don't leave," which is good, as opposed to people going, "Brilliant, you're leaving. Thank God for that."
So you left, and you set up one business, and that business was like paid ads.
Yeah.
For people to get leads, because it's what all businesses want. It's what we all look for all the time. What's the best way of getting leads? And, I've dabbled with ads recently in the last year. I'm thinking about not bothering again. But anyway, that was something that I have done and I see lots of other business owners doing. And you shut that business down quite quickly. And I love the reason for this. Talk to us about why, because it's something I talk about all the time.
Yeah, I will say to anybody that asks me, everything is downstream from lead generation. We hear that phrase thrown about all the time, and I don't disagree with that. You need leads coming into a business. The problem is so many people focus on that, and then they go, oh, well, these leads are crap. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, you need to kind of take a step back and realize each one of your leads is an actual human being that has a life, that has seen something that you've put out there, gone, "Oh, that's interesting," and then because their experience after that wasn't very good, they're normally dropping off. But you, as a business owner, I hear it all the time. Oh, the leads were crap,
Yeah.
and it's because I tried to call them once and they didn't pick up the phone. Like, well, you could have called them when they're in the middle of something. They could have been eating. They could have been in a meeting.
And
Could have been
even
on the
not
toilet.
called, there's so many people that say my leads are crap because they're not buying anything within the first week. And I think people just don't realize how businesses really work. But a lot of my clients, a lot of people that first come to me, they say, I'm getting in leads, my ads are bringing in leads, or whatever they're doing, even organically, is bringing leads. I'm getting new people on my email list every week. And then those people are just dropping off a cliff. They're not
Yeah,
going anywhere. They're just like just because you have people on an email list doesn't mean that you are going to be able to sell anything to them.
no, of course. And it was a frustration. I remember one client in particular that had generated 250 leads over one weekend for a product that was average £700, so a considered purchase. We'd asked custom questions in the process, so it wasn't just your standard first name email. They were asking custom questions about location, what they wanted added to the order, so not a bad lead. And like 250, it was a £1 6 pence a lead. And I had a meeting, like honestly, the campaign was so good, I started writing the case study before I was like, it'll be easier for me to write it as we go along.
Yeah.
And I spoke to the business owner on the Wednesday following that weekend. I was like, right, how many of them look like they're becoming customers? Because all I dealt with at the time was that front end bit. He said, I haven't called any of them yet. I was
Oh,
like, okay, well, what's been sent to them? And he was like, oh, nothing yet. So on a Friday, I was just planning on sending all of the ones that come in that week an email. And I was like, so if I inquired on a Saturday or a Friday evening, I have to wait 6 to 7 days for one email that you're BCCing to everybody, which means I'm probably not going to see it anyway. And he was
yeah.
like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Ended up that campaign, we generated 1,200 leads for him. He sold two, just covered the cost of the campaign, and obviously turned around and said this isn't working because it wasn't making money, and I was losing a client for that reason. And I just looked at it and went, you have 1,200 people that have all said that looks, and it was a brilliant product that had all expressed interest in it. He could have called, if he had converted 10% of them, he would have made more money than he's ever made in a year. But
Yeah.
he just hadn't thought of what happens next, just assumed, right, they're filling in a form, they're going to buy from me.
Yeah.
So it kind of opened my eyes to looking at, right, that bit is really important.
And no
I
one
asked
really
this,
teaches that bit because
no,
I've been in business a long time now, and people teach you how to get leads more than anything else. And then the next bit is they teach you how to sell. But there's this in between bit
yeah.
that they don't teach you.
I usually, when I'm on stage, the first question I ask an audience is, put your hand up if you've ever inquired with a business and then been left feeling what happens next. And
Yeah.
everybody in the room puts their hand up. And I say, right, keep your hand up if that made you more likely to buy the product. And everybody puts their hand down. I've yet to have that happen in a talk where it hasn't been those two things. We've all experienced this. You know, even you might walk into a restaurant and then look around and go, do I sit down at a table? Does
Yeah, and you
somebody come
walk
over?
away. I've walked away when
Yeah.
that's happened for too long. It's like no
You,
one's
you know, we're
helping.
fickle. Look,
Yeah.
we are people are fickle in general. And if you take a step back and think about how you go through that process, bearing in mind as business owners, we're anomalies anyway, because most people aren't business owners. But we're so fickle in those situations, and yet we've got something designed for somebody to fill out a form and then nothing happens next. Like you're completely right. That bridge between marketing and sales is so rarely spoken about, but it's actually their first impression of you as a business.
Yeah, it is.
If it isn't good, even if they then see another advert further down the line, they'll go, "Oh, I won't inquire with that because the last time I did, nothing happened."
It wasn't good enough. Yeah. So you decided on the basis of this that actually the business that you were in isn't the business you needed to be helping people with. It was this.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was you've touched on it a few moments ago when you said nobody's really talking about this bit, and I've realised that nobody is talking about it. There are so many different ways of getting leads, and there are so many good ways. And I love the sentence or the phrase from Roy Sutherland: "The opposite of a good idea can be another good idea." There are loads and loads of ways that you can generate leads, and loads of ways that you can sell, and loads of different marketing campaigns. They're out there, and they're not that hard to go out and find.
No.
the success for them, I feel, is what happens after that. Because if you have a campaign that, let's say, generates you 100 leads and you sell 10 things from them, 10% conversion rate to keep the numbers easy, most people will go, right, to double that, I'm going to spend twice as much money on the next campaign. And I'm like, hold on, you've still got 90 people
Yeah, you're not
that have
thinking
done the
people
thing.
are already there.
Yeah, you've still got 90 people in the middle of that that just need a slightly different version. Because if you can give them a more fluid version, make it really easy for them to do the next step. And I don't mean, oh, you filled that in, here, give me money. Like there are steps in between and understanding what those steps are, making it really easy for people to go from one step to another, to another, to another. They'll eventually be at the point where they're like, right, how do I pay?
Yeah, and this is one of the things you do, and it's one of the things you've talked to us about in my company to do, which is kind of like that step by step using automation, because we can't talk to every customer and personalize everything we want to, but it's very difficult to do. So, do you think automation is the key to being able to do this well?
Yes, as a short answer. In fact, I'd argue that if you don't have it in, even outside of scaling and your own ability, it's a worse service to them. So let me set an example. I hear the sentence all the time from business owners. I get back to a lead as soon as I can. It's like, brilliant, but that's as soon as you can. That isn't as soon as they want the response.
Yeah,
At the point at which they fill that form in, that's the most interested they've ever been with you as a business. Because before that, they would have inquired. So
yeah,
at that point, that's the most interested they've been. If they get nothing, that's only ever going to decrease. The excitement level isn't going to be going up if you just don't do anything. But it doesn't have to be pretend to be a human. It's one of my big
I
things that a
hate
lot of
that.
people they're scared of automation because they're trying to put it in place of a real human being. For me, for example, one thing I recommend to clients is at the point at which they inquire, you can send them on video on WhatsApp automatically that says, "Hi, thanks for your inquiry. This is an automated video, but just to let you know, I'm going to reach out within the next 24 hours. In the meantime, this video is going to explain a few common questions that I get asked. And if by the end of it you still feel like it would be a good thing for us to have a chat, you can click the button below and book in a time that suits you to avoid me calling you when you're not free."
Yeah, nice and
I,
easy. You don't have to do anything. It's all set up for you. We have a similar thing. We call it Lisa Bot. We've made it into a person of its own.
yeah,
And people like that because we're not pretending. People are scared of automation, I think, because they are like, oh, you can't speak to a real person anymore. But there is a place for this.
yeah. There's you where it's you. So the frustration, I think, if you take the banking industry,
Hmm.
is you can't speak to a real person because they're trying to reduce costs. And as a business, I don't think that's the approach.
No.
If the automation is, look, we'll get you through to a real person to make sure that we're as respectful of your time as possible. Let me ask a few questions and put you through to the right person. At that point, everybody's like, "Ah, okay, now I'm relaxed." Like, none of us complain. If we ever go to a train station, none of us complain about the automation on the board that tells you how long the train's going to take to get there.
No.
None of us complain about that because it sets a really clear expectation. We would complain if we turned up and that board wasn't there and somebody around wasn't telling us when the train was there, and we were just there in anxiety going, am I on the right platform? Am I where I should be?
Yeah.
Like, we forget about that, but that's an automated
Automation.
system.
Mm.
That's how you should be planning that journey.
I'm presuming it's because of all the talk about AI, and the fear around AI is what makes people so scared of automation now.
I think so. It's also a lot of people's bad experience of automation trying to worsen their experience.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's ever received videos from me at that initial step and gone, that's really poor service. I've laid it out that I will manually get in touch with you. Now, as long as I meet the expectations I'm setting, or exceed the expectations I'm setting, I should say, then you're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're scared of it because they've been through poor experiences.
We
And
all
those
have,
poor
haven't we?
experiences are trying to cut costs and cut corners.
Yeah. My first bad automation experience is when, and lots of people will know what I'm talking about. When you go onto a webinar and it says the webinar, you've just made it in time. The webinar's starting in 5 minutes, and it's a recorded webinar on something like Webinar Jam, and they're pretending that it's live. And
Yeah.
it's so obvious to me that it's not live. And as soon as they pretend it's live and it's not, my values don't align with them anymore because they're dishonest. And so I'm gone and I won't buy from them after that. And I think people had a lot of that a couple of years ago. It seems to be less now.
Yeah, it's one of my core values has been really open and transparent. I lay that out in everything that I do. So I will tell you what you're going to receive if you fill in a form. Like if you fill this in, I'm going to send you a video straight away. And if you don't book a meeting in with me or tell me you're not interested, at 7 o'clock tonight, you're going to get another video. I'm really, really clear so that
Yeah.
each stage is like, that's what you said was going to happen. That's what you said was
It
going
is
to happen.
happening. It's that honesty, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, of all the different types of automation out there, is there one that you really favor right
At the
now?
moment, strongly favoring WhatsApp.
Okay. And
The
why is that?
I'd say three reasons. One, the open rates on it massively exceed everything else. Globally, 80% of every WhatsApp message that's ever sent is opened within the first 10 minutes. That's a WhatsApp stat that
Yeah.
WhatsApp provides to everybody. My open rate at the moment is 93%. My reply rate's over 50% of people coming through. Like that, you just can't compare it to email. Two, it offers you a different approach. So I wouldn't put in a WhatsApp what I put in an email. It's much more personal. And a prime example, I sent round to a portion of my recent clientele a video of me last night that was like, I have a favor to ask. I'm looking to get more reviews into the business. And I was wondering if you could take 3 seconds or 30 seconds, just fill in a quick review that's going to help me grow the business. I had almost every single one of them give me a review. Like it's because it's really personal. I can put
Yeah.
much more personal into it. And the third bit is there's a section in the book that I've got coming out, which is about reading a sentence wrong. We've all read sentences in an email wrong, but
Yeah.
I use the sentence, I didn't tell you to kill him, because there's 7 words in that sentence, and if you put the inflection on one of those words, it can give you 6 different meanings to the sentence.
Example.
I didn't tell you to kill him, or I didn't tell you to kill him. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
tell you to kill him. I didn't tell you to kill him. I didn't tell you to kill him. Or I didn't tell you to kill him.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
That it's the same sentence, but if you send that in an email, you have a 1 in 6 chance of them reading it in their voice the same way that you've written it in yours.
Yeah.
With WhatsApp, I can put it in a video and there's no ambiguity in what I meant by it. I'm
That's,
not sending that video to somebody, by the way.
yeah. I want to see why you're sending this video.
But it's a great example of a sentence that written down, if I write it, I know exactly how I want it to be read. But if you read it, it depends on the mood that you're in, what's happening at the time for you to read it the same way that
And
I've
I
written
love
it.
sending videos anyway. It does feel more personal. The problem, so we use WhatsApp. It's one of the things we do. We get at the open rates are much higher than everything else that we do. The issue I've found with WhatsApp is getting people to give you their number. Now we've sort of cracked it now by realizing that you have to give them something that's worth paying for them to actually give you their real phone number. But
Yeah.
so many people just put fake numbers in to get the things.
They do. I think two ways that I've got not got round that because that sounds like I'm trying to be really cheeky, but 2 ways that I've done it. Number one is I say to them really clearly, if you do this, I'm going to deliver this value via WhatsApp. So if it's a lead magnet, for example, I would say something like, look, I'll send you this over via WhatsApp. So fill this in and immediately via WhatsApp, you'll get access to the lead magnet. If they don't then give me the correct WhatsApp number, they're never going to get the value that they're filling it in for in the
Yeah,
first place. And secondly, I think being really clear what I want to use it for. A lot of people are worried about giving their phone number so that they're going to get bombarded with spam phone calls. And that isn't the case,
no.
or shouldn't necessarily be the
It is
case.
some with some people, I guess, but that's not what
With
we're
some people,
doing.
yeah. I think setting again, it's about those expectation settings. If you've said this and then delivered it, said this and then delivered it, when you're then saying, right, fill this form in, I'll WhatsApp you over these details, and I'll follow you up on WhatsApp, but you won't get any phone calls.
Yeah,
Then, I'm then meeting expectations. And a lot of businesses that I speak to are just, again, it's down to that lead mentality. I want to get as many leads in as possible, so I want to make it really easy. So I don't want to put the phone number in. But actually, if you lose 20% of the people that would have filled in the form because they won't give you the phone number, some people look at that and go, right, it's 20% off the bottom line. And it's not, because that 20% are probably the people that would never have bought from you
yeah,
anyway.
that's so true. Because if they're interested in your service and they're excited to talk to you, they'll want to get a WhatsApp from you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's never the ones that are one step away from saying no, probably going to say no anyway.
Yeah.
So it's more about trimming the fat on that campaign than anything else. Like for me, if you don't have WhatsApp and you go through the process, you're not a client of mine.
Yeah.
Being really frank, and I say that at the start in all of my adverts, it's if you fill this in, this is going to happen. I'm going to WhatsApp you immediately with a video with buttons for you to press to book in a meeting. If you have no intention of booking a meeting and no intention of doing it, don't fill out the form.
Yeah.
Now, I go very blunt over the top on that side, but if you're really clear, look, I'm going to deliver this via WhatsApp, they'll go, yeah, brilliant. Here's my WhatsApp number. What else do you
Yeah,
need from
yeah. The right people will. You're absolutely
me?
right. Tell me a bit about your book that you've got coming out in September,
So the book is called No One Gives a Shit About Your Business.
which I love.
And it's essentially broken down into three sections. The first third of the book is trying to get you to realign the expectation, realign the mindset that people don't care about what you're doing yet. They care about the result that they want to get off the back end of it. But if you go into a process thinking, right, if they fill out their form, clearly they want to buy from me, they love me. What you put into your customer journey is going to be massively misaligned with what they are.
Because it's about the solution for their problem only.
Yeah. They don't care about you yet. The first few chapters are no one cares about you. They're actual human beings and they care about the quality of their time more than the quantity of the time.
Mm.
So I use an example in the book about an airport in Houston, Texas. But back in 2012, they had a real problem with people complaining about the wait times for baggage. It's about 15, 16 minutes. So they did what every normal company would do, and they got new staff, they got new baggage belts, they sped up the process and brought it down to 7 minutes. People were still complaining. And they brought in a consultant in 2012 who said, park the planes further away. So they parked the planes further away. It took 6 minutes to do the walk, and then the baggage wait time out the belt was only 1 minute, and everybody thought this was amazing. And the only difference is their time was occupied
Yeah, it's the
as
customer
opposed to just being there.
experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would argue if they had have done that first, they wouldn't have needed to invest in the millions of dollars to speed it up in the first place,
So
which is what Gatwick Airport does. Um, so it's about realigning your mindset around, right, this person going through this process is an actual human being. What would you do going through the process? And remember, you know more about your business than anybody else does. You started a business in it.
yeah.
So stop thinking it from a perspective of, right, I know everything and get it tested by people that know nothing about your business because they don't care. Once that mindset is kind of realigned, it's then talking about how automation and different bits of automation can play a part in that and should play a part in that. And then I think once you've got that customer journey down, you can then open the floodgates to as many leads as you want coming in because it doesn't take you any extra time.
No, and you know where they're going and you know what's going to happen.
You know, I use the phrase open the floodgates really deliberately because if you had a dam that didn't direct the water in the right way, it'd be a disaster if you just got rid of it. And that's what I think a lot of people do is they go, right, I'm just going to let the whole flow of leads come in and they get drowned by it, and it's not a good experience for anybody.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got
Overwhelming for the business owner as well, actually, sometimes.
it can also have a detrimental effect further down the line. You
Mm.
know, if there have been loads of examples in of big companies making this mistake where they haven't planned for a huge influx of leads and then it's just been bad for everybody.
Yeah.
But that leaves a bad taste in the mouth reputationally for anybody further down the line. If you
Really.
turn up to a restaurant that didn't take bookings and all of a sudden there were 300 people outside waiting to get in and they hadn't catered for it and they ran out of food and the staff were roughed off their feet, so the service was bad, all of that, those 300 people aren't coming back.
Yeah.
And you've done all the hard work from the marketing side to get
For
300 people
nothing.
excited and the
That's what I
product
say
might have
about
been really good.
these 300 people are falling off a cliff. And that's what's continuously happening when people aren't thinking about this side of things. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about your book coming out because I think it's going to really help people. If people want to get on a list for that book or at least come and follow you and see the kind of things you're doing, where is the best place for them to go?
So I'm across every social media, Chris Dillon, the automation expert, website chris-dillon.co.uk will currently take you through. The priority list for the book is coming out in a month or so's time,
Amazing.
which gives me 4 days to write the rest of the book, but that's fine. And yeah, coming out first week in September, so it'll be plastered across all of my socials.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and discussing this. It's a topic that I could talk about for a much longer period of time, and maybe we will do once your book is out, because there's so much more to that customer journey than people realize, and that they really need to consider. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you,
thank you
for listening. And I will be back next week with another episode of Making Money Online. Thank you for listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson. If you'd like to get hold of my guide to launching, go to lisajohnson.com/launch and let's get you making money online.